I have run 100+ SaaS pricing projects, and I use the following template approach that I want to share with you now. The key thing to notice when you run a SaaS pricing project, let's say you have a SaaS business, maybe you work in one, maybe you own one, and you have this sense that your pricing is off. Maybe you get some weird feedback from sales, or you just have a sense that you're leaving money on the table, whatever it is. And you say, hey, okay, we want to fix this. So the first thing that you should realize is that you probably already have some sort of an idea that there's an upside to be had. And what is standing between you and the maximal potential upside is risk, right? So you're saying, well, if we just 10x the price, maybe some of the customers will not churn. We might retain some of them, but maybe we will have a massive churn event and 95% of our customers will leave, and then we will actually go down in ARR and we will be done as a business. Okay, so that you don't want. And then for that reason, what usually happens is that people start a pricing project and then they do an incremental change. They do 10% up. Woohoo! And then if it's successful, then that's great. And then suddenly they do 10% more 6 months later. And then if nothing still happens and they just keep earning 10% more, no churn. Actually, you would be surprised how many of my projects start like that, because people have raised 10% twice or 3 times and they have seen no effect. And then they come to me to say, okay, can we, instead of doing it like this, can we just figure out where we need to go finally and just go there in one big fell swoop, right? And so you need to design the process where you arrive at the price in such a way as to minimize the risk. So imagine the following. You today price at 100, and I then tell you, well, you should raise your prices to 500. But I'm going to give you some insurances or guarantees. You absolutely are confident yourself that this is a really good move to raise prices to 500. Then I'm game. Then we're going to raise it to 500. And that's the process. We want the process to do exactly that. And I'm going to show you how. So we're going to have 4 steps in the process. We're going to do design. We're going to validate it. And we're going to sales test it, and then we're going to do rollback. Different versions of this, sometimes we change around a little bit, but the core steps are the same in most of the work I do. And the reason I do it this way is precisely to be able to, at the final step, be in that position I just told you, to just be completely confident that whatever price level we're implementing is the right one. Because if we can be maximally aggressive, that's also where we can get the best result. But we can only be maximally aggressive if we're also maximally confident and we covered the downside, so we have almost 0 risk left, right? So the first thing we do is we do a design. And that essentially means that we get all the right people in the room to agree on what the new pricing should be. So we get sales in, we get product in, we get marketing in, we get the CFO in, and we sit them in a room, and then we try out different versions, get everyone's perspective, and design a new pricing model and new price points. We also run some scenarios in a spreadsheet on the customers and the competitors and some costs and so forth. And then we sort of figure out, okay, maybe there are some customers, let's say some enterprise customers, where we could 10x the price or 2x the price or whatever. And maybe there are other customers where we say, well, actually we shouldn't touch the prices at all because we're just barely competitive and our product is really strong for this particular segment. Whatever it is, usually you can find, instead of doing pricing wholesale across all customers, you can find customers in pockets or subsegments where you have much more pricing power. So your packaging and your pricing model should really try to tease that out. That will give you a lot. So what you end up with here is something that everybody likes in this sort of small group of executives. And the reason it needs to be a small group of executives and not everyone in the organization is that these guys in a small group can be more aggressive, right? They can say, well, let's make a bet. Let's try and be a little bit more aggressive than we normally would, because we know that there's going to be more steps that's going to, let's say, save us in case we're too aggressive. Then you validate. You validate it internally with your team so that everybody gets to sort of say, how, let's say, have their say on how to implement this and communicate it and execute it and so forth. You validate it with your channel partners in case that they have issues with it, and you validate it with customers. And the way you validate it with customers is that you validate, I have other videos on this, so go check it out. There's a lot of different sort of validation videos. It's an art in itself, and it's really where a lot of the value is made. But the idea is that you validate packaging first, then pricing model, and then price points. So you do these things separately and in that sequence. So that means that at this point, before you start the sales tests, you have something that the core executive team backs up. Everybody in the organization knows how to execute. The customers like the structure because they've told you, and the price points are sort of, they seem sort of good and they map out on the Excel sheet. So you really have sort of captured some of the value in some of the subsegments. And then it doesn't need to be at this point that all your existing customers like the new pricing, because you can just tell them, hey, if we can't sell it to new customers, we will never use it to old customers, right? So that's what you tell them in the validation. And then you roll it out to new customers. And you can be relatively aggressive in a sales test because it hurts less to just lose a sale compared to losing an existing customer. So you roll something out in a sales test and you say, okay, so let's use the new framework and the new pricing and so forth and really test if we can get someone to buy. We've actually sold it in the market, like at these prices. We know customers are willing to buy. So it is not, we don't have a lock-in effect. It's not unfair. Like people have just been able to just go somewhere else and buy it from someone else, but they bought it from us at these prices. So this is now when we roll it back. But we don't need to roll it back on all our existing accounts. We can just roll it back on 10% or 25%, like a small subsection of customers. Say, hey, we write 10% of our customers, and then we say, hey, we're gonna move you over to new pricing by January 1st, whatever it is. I did this once with, I think we had 20 million freemium users in a product, and we just wrote 1 million of them and say, hey, you know, freemium is over, we want you to move to a paid product. And then we sort of saw how it went. And then when the numbers actually turned out pretty well on those 1 million users, that gave us the confidence to then push the big button for the remaining 19 million users. So the whole idea is to structure a process where you allow yourself to be maximally aggressive and then just validate in order to mitigate the risk, and then be able to, at the final point, just with absolute confidence, pull the trigger on something that is far more aggressive and wide-reaching than just a 10% increase. So the average price increase that I have executed on my last 25 projects, well, I did this math sort of this summer, is 242%. The average ARR on those products were just around $5 million. And the median price increase, different from the average, was 102%. So what we see is that with a process like this, you get to far different results compared to just doing 10% or 20% sort of incremental price increases. You want something that is a redefinition of the value you deliver, and then you want to build the confidence to really deliver this value and charge for it in the market. So I hope it makes sense. I hope I have convinced you to just not do 10%. So good luck with it. Hey there. So I create these videos for free so that you can take your great SaaS product and turn it into a great SaaS business. So if you like the video and you got value from it, you should, of course, subscribe to the channel and also tell a friend. So write someone and say, hey, you know, you're in SaaS. This guy talks about SaaS. Maybe there's something in there for you. So that is the only way that this channel actually grows or these videos gets around. And this is sort of how I try to provide value to everyone. I have a network of clients that I have, and I get most of my business from referrals only. So the reason I make the videos and write the books and so forth is actually to just provide value to everyone else, because I can only be in one place at a time. So my hope with all these videos is just to do more good in the world. And if you tell a friend or you share, you can help me do that. So thank you.